All right. Well, hello. We are going to try and do a video lesson today. This is kind of new, but hi, it's Ms. Dorsey. So today we're working with math and we are going to be working on recognizing lines of symmetry in 2D shapes. We'll talk a lot about this word right here. 2D shapes, you may already know, is just a shape that is flat on a paper. So just that. So, just a little vocabulary first. The word symmetry. You guys know I love to break words apart. So let's break that word apart. What does symmetry mean? Symmetry has two parts. The first part is sim and then metry. Do you guys remember the word metry? We did once talk about geometry. Remember we said geo means earth and metry means to measure. And so we're measuring things around us. Well, same thing goes here. Metry means to measure. And sim means together or something in common. Okay, so symmetry of shapes has to do with their sides being measured together or having measurements in common. Okay, so that might help you remember it. So looking at this shape right here, which is a rectangle, if you were to divide the shape into two sides, and you looked at this side and then at that one, you would notice that they measure and look very much the same. And so that means that this shape has symmetry. Okay, so this is the word we're going to be working on today. And there is many different ways that a shape can have symmetry. Okay, we're going to be focusing on something we call line symmetry. Okay, so line symmetry, just like you can imagine, has to do with a line on the shape and the two sides having symmetry. Okay, and when a shape has symmetry, we say that it is symmetrical. All these fancy words. Symmetrical. So let's look at an example of line symmetry. I have here a shape. This is actually a pentagon. It has 5 sides. That's why it's called a pentagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you guys notice that I folded my shape in lines. So one way that I can fold my shape into 2 pieces is this way, to form a line in the middle. So the question is this a line of symmetry? Question. Okay, well, when a shape has symmetry, or it is symmetrical, it would mean that when I draw a line, even if it's just an imaginary line, down the middle of the shape, and I fold the shape on that line, the two sides should measure and look the same and match up like a mirror of each other. Do you notice that with this shape right here, that's not really happening? This side and that side are very different. So this is not a line of symmetry. What now if I were to take this shape and fold it this way to create a new line? Is this a line of symmetry? Well, let's see. When we open it up, when we look at the two sides, those two halves match perfectly. Okay, and this would then be called a line of symmetry. Okay, so this shape does have symmetry along this line. So we can call it symmetrical. Another really cool example of symmetry, there's actually a lot of them when you look around, is your hands. If you take your hands, put them together, and then open up your palms, if we imagine that there is a straight line between your two hands, can you tell that the two sides are actually symmetrical? If you fold them in half along the line and you look, they match up nicely. There's a finger where there's a finger on this side, there's one on this side, a thumb on this side, there's a thumb on this side. Even the lines on your hands kind of match up. So you could say that your hands are symmetrical. Okay, and there are many examples of that when you look at shapes, even in letters, and honestly, even in everyday objects and things in nature. Now, shapes can have many lines of symmetry. A lot of even shapes have several. For example, this is a rectangle, again, and we already saw that rectangles have a line of symmetry down the middle. If you could, I'm going to use this pencil. If you put a line down the middle, you can see this side and that side match up. If I fold my rectangle on that line, I can see it's symmetrical because the two sides match up and are equal. Like a mirror reflection. Think of it that way. Okay, but a rectangle can have another line of symmetry. Just have a look at it. You notice that if I cut my rectangle in half this way, the two sides would also be symmetrical. So let's try it. There we go. And once again, when I fold it along the line that I created, the two halves match up like a mirror image, just like my hands did. So this rectangle actually has two lines of symmetry. Now, if I were to put a line diagonally, you may be wondering, would that be a line of symmetry? So I'm thinking of this. Well, those two do kind of look like two big triangles. So do they match up? Could I say that there's another line of symmetry? It's a little tricky with your eyes, so let's try it. Let's try and fold it halfway to this side. Well, I did make two triangles, but can you notice they don't match up? They don't cover each other perfectly in the two sides at all. So no, that third one is not going to work. Lines of symmetry would create two halves that match up perfectly. So we'll say rectangle has two lines of symmetry. Okay, let's try it with some other things. Here's the popular shape, a heart. Let's see, where do you see a line of symmetry? What about this? Yeah, that's not going to work. I can already imagine that when I fold that, that's not equal. But this way, you tell that that looks promising. That looks like when I fold along the line I made, I'm going to get two equal halves that match up. That's important. They have to match up. So let me try it. Let me fold my heart. Well, not my real heart, the paper one. Look at that. Perfect match like a mirror. So this is definitely a line of symmetry. And any shape, no matter whether it looks even or weird, if you can make it fold in half and the two sides match up, then it has a line of symmetry right there in the middle. All right, this is a fun one, letters. I wish we had time to go through every letter of the alphabet. We won't. But let's look at some letters that have a line of symmetry. Here we have a capital A. How many lines of symmetry did you see there? Okay, I'm looking this way. So I'd say that has one line of symmetry. If I folded my A, that would fit perfectly and match up. Okay, X, how many lines of symmetry do we see there? Okay. There's one right here. So this side and that side match up. But there's also one right here. This side and that side match up. They're symmetrical. All right, let's have a look at the E. Take a moment, look at it. Think of it as a shape. Try not to get distracted by the fact that it's a letter. So it doesn't really matter which way you hold it. You see that I see one line of symmetry here, and it is right through the middle of the center line. When I fold it right there, they would actually match up if I manage to match up my letter. There's two halves that are equal. But not all letters are symmetrical. There's many that are not. Look at this L. I can't think of any way to cut this letter that would make it fold in two equal halves that match. And F looks so much like E, and E has symmetry, but F is missing this line, and I can't think again of how I could cut it to have equal sides. So F does not have symmetry. Ooh, this one is a famous one. People get really confused by Z. What do you think? It does look to your eye like two sides of Z are equal, doesn't it? But this is kind of like that time we try to cut the rectangle a third way. Because when you look at it this way, it's like, oh, that kind of looks like they would match. But let's fold it just to be sure. Yeah, so that looks like it does not match up. They're facing opposite ways. So you gotta be very careful with that. So Z, no symmetry. All right, let's look at the letter O. Now, O is usually a circle. This one doesn't look much more, it looks a little bit more like an oval. But if you have a circular O, you can imagine that you can cut a line of symmetry through here, but you could also cut one this way. Wait, you could even do it this way. Or that way. You could have several lines of symmetry with a circle or with a letter O. Let's look at some like everyday objects. Because you may, if you like art, or just honestly nature, you may notice a lot of symmetry in nature. I think God really enjoys things being symmetrical. A lot of flowers have symmetry and a lot of animals have symmetry. Look at this butterfly. I feel like I can see right away that this was designed to match up on the two sides. Butterfly's little body is actually a line of symmetry. If you look, if you split this butterfly in half this way, you see that for every little half wing on one side, there's one there, and every part of its pattern repeats on the other side. Look at this dot right there. It's like a mirror image of that side. So when I fold a butterfly, and you guys know that butterflies do this to themselves, they fold their wings. And we can't tell which wing is which because they're so perfectly matched up. Well, butterflies have line symmetry. That's actually a really good example. And again, if you like designing things, drawing, and a lot of you do, you probably have realized that when you make your drawings match up on two sides of a middle, it just looks right. Okay, our eyes really like looking at symmetry, and I think that's how God made it. And guess what? Your face is an example of symmetry. So look at this little kid here. He looks mighty happy. But if you look at his face and the shapes on his face, can you notice that it has a lot of symmetry? If we put a line of symmetry down the middle, notice everything is so well matched up. We have half a nose on this side and a half nose on this side. An eye here, an eye there. An eyebrow on this side matches this side. An ear matches an ear. A cheek matches a cheek. A dimple matches a dimple. Half a chin, right? And look at even his teeth, right? When you have a big tooth here, you have a big tooth there. Little tooth here, little tooth there. Pointy tooth here, a pointy tooth there. Half a tongue, okay? And if you keep going down the body, you have an arm on one side, an arm on the other, a leg on one side, a leg on the other. Okay, so we have symmetry even in our bodies. So this is actually a very useful thing for people working with math and shapes and geometry. So we're going to be looking today at finding and drawing lines of symmetry. Lines of symmetry. Okay, now we're going to be focusing on shapes like squares and rectangles and other shapes that we don't really have a name for. What I want you to be on the lookout for is, do I see a line of symmetry? And if I do, where is it? And can I notice if there's more than one? So this is an example from our book. I know you don't have your textbook, but we're going to use it together. Okay. And you can see here, I have the letter A. We already talked about the letter A. We know that there is a line of symmetry on the letter A if I cut it this way. Okay, what else? Well, we talked about a butterfly. Yes, it has symmetry right there. And what about this car? Split it in half. Symmetry, yes or no? Nope. What about this arrow? Can I draw? It has to be a straight line. Can I draw a straight line that makes two symmetrical sides? I do not see one. I could draw a curved line, but that doesn't work. Lines of symmetry are always straight lines. So that's a no as well. Okay, and a hand by itself. Now, if I had another hand here, I could draw a line of symmetry, but by itself, no. Now I'm gonna say this lobster has symmetry. Can you guys see it? Look at him. He's got his little antenna, his claws, his legs, everything half on each side. So I could draw a line of symmetry this way. You gotta be ready to look at it many ways before you decide. Okay? And so on and so on. You can keep going with that and kind of look at it yourself and decide. Okay, but I think that's about it for me explaining. I want you to get a chance to try it. So today you received two papers to work on. Now one of them you're going to have to print. Okay, so if you look at this one does not need printing. The paper that you got is a PDF, and so you can just open it, download it first, save it on, and then start answering on the little lines. It gives you a space where you can type yes, no, yes, no. So you're going to look at these examples of lines on shapes and decide, do you think that is a line of symmetry? Okay, and the example that was done for you is this kind of moon-shaped thing here. You guys see they put a line in the middle and they asked you, is this a line of symmetry? And you need to say yes or no. I can imagine this matching up, so we said yes. Now be careful. There might be some where you know that the shape has a line of symmetry, but did they put it in the right place? So you have to be very careful and say yes or no. Okay? And then your second page, this is the one you would have to print and write because you're also going to have to draw, and we can't really draw on the computer like that. It has three parts. So this one you're familiar with, it's just saying yes or no. This one, they're telling you to draw a line of symmetry on your shape. So now you grab a pencil or something and draw a line of symmetry. Where do you need to draw it so that the two sides match up evenly? And then the last part here, you have to draw the second half. So now you got to use your little art skills a little bit and just tell yourself, how should I draw the other side to make the two sides have symmetry? Okay. All right, so good luck. Remember that you can always write to me if you have questions, and I hope you enjoy working with your symmetry today. Have a good one.